In the heart of West Africa, where resilience has long been the cornerstone of survival, a new and astonishing development is unfolding under the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré. Known already for his bold political moves and daring economic reforms, Traoré has embarked on a project so unconventional, so shocking to many observers, that it has captured global attention. It is a story that blends science, survival, innovation, and geopolitics into one of the most ambitious agricultural experiments in modern Africa. Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation battling harsh climate, desertification, and food insecurity, is now home to one of the world's first large-scale projects dedicated to farming billions of locusts for meat. To the casual observer, such a venture might sound surreal, even grotesque. Locusts are often remembered for devastation, swarms that ravage crops, and plagues that drive farmers into despair. Yet Traoré has taken this destructive insect and turned it into a symbol of hope. Where others saw pestilence, he saw protein. Where others remembered famine, he envisioned food security. This project is not a desperate improvisation, but rather a carefully calculated experiment in confronting the global food crisis, building national resilience, and positioning Burkina Faso as a leader in alternative protein production. At its core, this initiative addresses one of the most pressing issues of the 21st century: how to feed a rapidly growing population in the face of climate change. The United Nations has projected that by 2050, the world will need to produce at least 50% more food than it does today. Traditional methods of livestock farming already strain water resources, consume vast amounts of land, and generate high greenhouse gas emissions. Beef, poultry, and pork industries are becoming increasingly unsustainable. Insects, however, present a radically different equation. They require far less water, space, and feed, while offering a protein density that rivals or even surpasses conventional meats. Burkina Faso's locust farms are designed as vast, climate-controlled facilities where billions of insects are bred, harvested, and processed. Traoré has emphasized that this is not merely an agricultural project, but an economic revolution. Locust meat is extraordinarily rich in protein, iron, zinc, and essential fatty acids, making it a highly nutritious food source. For local communities, it represents a way to combat malnutrition, one of the greatest health challenges in the Sahel. For international markets, it represents an export opportunity in the rapidly growing sector of alternative proteins, where demand is already rising in Europe, Asia, and North America. The cultural dimension of this project is equally important. Across Africa, eating insects has never been taboo. For centuries, communities from Nigeria to Uganda to South Africa have consumed termites, crickets, caterpillars, and locusts as seasonal delicacies. In many regions, locusts are fried, roasted, or ground into flour, and their consumption is celebrated rather than hidden. Traoré's initiative taps into this tradition but scales it to industrial levels, transforming what was once subsistence harvesting into a high-tech farming operation. However, the project also speaks to something much larger: the desire for self-sufficiency. Traoré has repeatedly articulated his vision of breaking Burkina Faso's dependence on foreign aid and external control. Farming locusts for meat is not simply about feeding people. It is about reclaiming sovereignty. Instead of importing expensive processed foods, the nation can develop its own protein industry that is cheaper, more sustainable, and rooted in local culture. At a time when food insecurity is often weaponized by global powers, this project represents a bold refusal to remain dependent on international handouts. Of course, the move has not been without controversy. Critics within and outside Burkina Faso have raised eyebrows at the very idea of turning locusts into a national industry. Some argue that investing heavily in insect farming distracts from more conventional agricultural reforms, such as irrigation projects, improved crop yields, or livestock vaccination programs. Others see it as a gamble on a product that may not gain widespread acceptance beyond Africa, particularly in Western markets where eating insects still faces cultural resistance. But Traoré, ever the disruptor, has doubled down on the vision. His government has framed the locust farms not as replacements, but as complements to existing food systems. The facilities are designed with renewable energy in mind, relying heavily on solar power to maintain ideal breeding conditions. Waste from the locust farms is converted into fertilizer, enriching the soil and supporting traditional agriculture. Even the byproducts, such as locust exoskeletons, are being explored for use in cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and animal feed. This circular economy approach ensures that almost nothing goes to waste, aligning with global sustainability goals. On the ground, the social impact is already visible. The locust farms have created jobs for thousands of Burkinabe, many of them young people and women. In a country where unemployment and underemployment remain chronic, this project provides not only income, but also training in modern agricultural and processing techniques. For many, it is their first introduction to working in structured, technologically advanced facilities, and the skills they acquire could ripple outward into other industries. Internationally, the project has stirred both admiration and unease. Environmentalists and food security experts have praised it as visionary, pointing out that if insect protein is to become mainstream, pioneering countries must lead by example. Burkina Faso, despite its limited resources, has positioned itself at the forefront of this movement. Yet geopolitical analysts see something more: the assertion of independence in a world where food production is tightly linked to global power structures. If Africa can produce its own protein alternatives at scale, the traditional dominance of Western agribusiness and even Asian supply chains could be challenged. China, in particular, has been closely monitoring Burkina Faso's experiment. As the world's largest consumer of protein and a country that has already invested heavily in insect farming for animal feed, Beijing recognizes both the competitive and collaborative opportunities in Traore's vision. Partnerships are being explored, but so too are strategies to ensure that China's own projects are not overshadowed by African leadership in the field. Meanwhile, Western nations have approached the project with skepticism, unsure whether to treat it as a novelty, a genuine competitor, or an opportunity for investment. The science underpinning the locust farms is itself a fascinating story. Entomologists and agricultural engineers have collaborated to design systems that mimic the natural life cycle of locusts, while maintaining strict control over population growth. The locusts are fed on crop residues, agricultural byproducts, and even organic waste, converting low-value inputs into high-value protein. The efficiency is staggering. To produce 1 kilogram of protein, locusts require a fraction of the water and feed that cattle or poultry demand. Moreover, the speed of their life cycle allows for rapid scaling. Entire populations can be bred, harvested, and replaced in a matter of weeks. This efficiency has translated into impressive numbers. Burkina Faso now boasts several facilities capable of producing thousands of tons of locust protein annually. Much of it is processed into flour that can be added to bread porridge or protein bars, making it versatile and easily integrated into existing diets. Other products include locust-based snacks marketed to younger, urban consumers who have shown surprising enthusiasm for this bold culinary experiment. Still, challenges remain. Scaling production without compromising quality or safety is a delicate balancing act. Ensuring consistent hygiene, preventing disease outbreaks among locust populations, and meeting international food safety standards are ongoing hurdles. Traore's administration has worked with scientists and international experts to establish rigorous protocols, knowing that any misstep could undermine global confidence in the project. Another obstacle lies in perception. While Africa may embrace insect protein as familiar and practical, Western markets have been slower to adapt. Yet change is happening. In Europe, several countries have already approved insect-based products for human consumption, and the global edible insect market is projected to grow into the billions of dollars within the next decade. For forward-looking investors, Burkina Faso's locust farms represent a first-mover advantage in a sector poised for exponential growth. beyond economics and nutrition, there is also a powerful symbolic dimension to this story. For centuries, Africa has been cast as a passive recipient of global trends, often forced to follow models designed elsewhere. Ibrahim Traoré's Locust project flips that narrative. Here is a young African leader introducing a radical idea that could transform not only his nation, but also global food systems. Instead of importing solutions, Burkina Faso is exporting innovation. Instead of waiting for salvation from abroad, it is charting its own path. The ripple effects across Africa could be profound. Neighboring countries are already in discussions with Burkina Faso about replicating the model. In the Sahel, where food insecurity and climate change pose existential threats, the idea of transforming insects into sustainable protein offers hope. If Burkina Faso can succeed, it could inspire a wave of locust farms stretching from Mali to Niger to Chad, reshaping the region's economy and food security landscape. For the Burkinabe people, the project is not just about food, it is about dignity. Too often, Africa is portrayed as dependent, starving, and helpless. By taking the very insect that once symbolized famine and turning it into a source of life, Traoré has created a powerful metaphor for resilience. The locust, once feared, is now embraced. The swarm, once destructive, is now productive. In the struggle for survival, innovation has rewritten the story. As this project continues to grow, it will face its share of critics, challenges, and uncertainties. But one thing is clear, it has already changed the conversation. It has forced the world to take notice of Burkina Faso, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a pioneer of solutions. It has shown that radical ideas, when backed by vision and courage, can transcend ridicule and skepticism. Ibrahim Traoré's Locust Farms may have begun as a shocking project, but they are quickly becoming a defining feature of a new Africa, an Africa unafraid to challenge convention, unafraid to take risks, and unafraid to lead. In the deserts of Burkina Faso, billions of locusts are not a plague but a promise. They are the promise of nourishment, of independence, of resilience, and of a future where Africa's innovations shape the destiny of the world. And as history unfolds, it may well be remembered that it was here, in one of the world's poorest nations, that a revolution in food and sovereignty began, with a hum of billions of wings in a place where once there was only hunger.